Hello, my name is Anselm. I'd like to welcome you to my Learn to Carve Academy on School. I've had a request from a community member from Czech Republic. I think I got that right. To learn how to do 4-plait cord for pendants. So today I'm going to do a tutorial on a 4-plait cord for carving pendants. I have two different types of cord here. I have one wax cord, which is what I commonly use all the time, and I have a plain cord which has got no wax on it, which is not very good for carving. For me, I use the 1.5mm cord. I don't know if you can see that. It's a 1.5mm cord, and I just order this online. And I'll just do a 4-plait cord by hand. So I'll just show you quickly. So I just get roughly about 1 meter. Meter of cord. Get about 4 strands of cord. The scissors. So to start off, I'll get roughly 1 meter, 4 strands of 1 meter cord, long lengths, right? I use 4 1 meter strands of cord to do my 4-plait, and I'll just tie a knot at the end. I'll tie all 4 pieces together. Then I'll come over here and I'll just put it on the hook. It's just roughly about 1 meter long. I'll just cut it end off. So I will just turn this around, hopefully. And right, I will separate the cord. I have one on the left and one on the right. I have one facing me and I have one facing away. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try and zoom in on it. Oh, having a few technical difficulties. I'll grab the 2 middle ones, 2 middle cords. I don't know if you can see that. Hang on, I might just turn this around. Right, I'll grab 4 pieces of cord, tie them together, put them on a hook. I have one on my left, one on my right, one facing me, one facing away. And I will use these 2 middle ones and I just swap them over. And then I swap the outside ones over. And then I just swap the middle ones over. Then the outside. So the two middle ones, I'll just swap them over. And now the two outside ones, I'll swap them over. Now I'll do the two inside ones, swap them over. Two outside ones, swap them over. Two inside, swap them over. And the outside. Just the inside ones and the outside. And I'll just continue this until I've completed the whole cord, ready for the pendant. You just got to keep separating them because they get tangled up as you're plaiting them. So I'll grab the two, one facing me and the one, swap them over. Two outside ones, I'll swap them over. I'll just keep going. About that, got a bit lost there. So the one facing me and the one facing away, I'll swap them over. And the one on my left and my right, I'll put the one on my left to my right and the one on my right to my left. I'll just switch them over. Now the two middle ones cross over, two outside ones cross over. Two inside ones cross over, swap the two outside ones. Swap the two inside, swap the two outside. Swap the two inside, swap the two outside ones. Now every now and then, I'm going to get tangled up. So I'll just separate them, untangle them. Right. The two middle ones, I'll swap them over. The two outside ones, I'll swap them over. Two middle ones, swap them over. Two outside ones, swap them over. Sometimes this is pretty hard to get the handle of when you're first starting. But later on, I'll show you how to do a full plait using a jig, which is a lot easier. But this way by hand is a lot faster, I find, than doing it by the jig. Rather than having to set the jig up. Swap them over, two outside ones, swap them over. Inside ones, swap them over. Two outside ones, I'll cross them over. The two middle ones, swap them over. Hello there, we're back again. So I've got my two outside ones, two centre ones. There's one on my left and my right, and I've got one facing me and one facing away. The one facing away and the one facing to me, I'm going to swap them over. Right, and now the one on my left and the one on my right, I'm going to swap them over. And then I'm going to, the one facing me and the one facing away, I'm going to swap them over. And the one on my left, the one on my right, I'm going to swap those two over. Then the one facing me and the one facing away, I'm going to swap them over. And the one on my left and the one on my right, I'm going to swap them over. And we just complete this process until we've got through the whole cord. I'll just bind it over there. cord will get tangled up, so we have to just untangle it. Just carry on. Long enough to go around there, it is. Let's continue this process. Takes a little while to get used to, but essentially you're just swapping 2 cords and then swapping the other 2, then swapping the other 2 and swapping the other 2, and just continuing that whole process, and then that creates your full plait. Turn the middle, cross them over, turn the outside, cross them over, turn the middle, cross them over, turn the outside, cross them over, and just continue. I find that this is easiest for me to do, and I'll show you an easier way for beginners to learn how the full plait works. Just turn the camera around so you can see. Let's get it right. Continue this. Make sure you can see it on camera. This takes quite a while. Let's get into there. To outside, to inside. Outside ones, cross the inside ones over, swap the outside ones, swap the inside ones, swap the outside ones, swap the inside ones. Turn the cord around. Inside, outside, 2 center ones and 2 outside ones. And just continue until we can complete the whole cord. So we run out of cord. Get in there, near the end. And just keep going as far as you can. Sometimes when you get near the end and it gets shorter, it gets quite tricky. Just try and go as far as you can to ensure that the full plait cord is long enough for your pendants. Put that around there, that's better. Seems to be taking forever, but eventually you can get to the end of it. It's getting a bit tricky now because the cords are getting a bit shorter, and that's probably about it. And I'll just hide them to there, and I'll just tie the full cords off at the end. Not so it doesn't unravel. I'll just unwind this and just show you. Got your full plait cord. Got your full plait cord there. Ready for you to bind onto your carving. Right, I've hand plaited the full plait cord. Now you can see that the light's not very good in here, it's quite dark. The full plait cord by hand is done. So now I'm going to move on to making a jig. Right, this here is a jig for doing full plait. It's just made out of a piece of pallet wood and a leftover scrap piece of plywood, and I've just glued it and screwed it together. So I'm just gonna move that over there. I'm just gonna put this clamp this jig on. Right. I'll try and get this tripod standing up, eh? Make it a lot easier. Hopefully it's tall enough so you can see. There we go, that's better. Right. So it's pretty much just a flat piece of plywood with a hole in the center and 4 notches cut out. And all I've done was I just grabbed a piece of plywood, scrap piece of plywood. I just grabbed a small bucket lid. You can use a saucer or a plate and just draw your round circle, and then you can just cut your outside out, cut in your V's, and then drill a hole and cut the center out. And then you just put a bit of glue on and then just attach it to a piece of wood with glue and a couple of screws, and then that's pretty much your jig done. And then I have it prepared earlier. I've got 4 coils of wax cord, and what we're going to do is we're going to unravel it, and we will tie the ends of all 4 of them together. Got 1, 2, 3, and 4 pieces. And we're going to tie them together in a knot. Right. And what happens with these is we tie all 4 of them together. Just tie them in a knot, and they just hang off like that. And what we're going to do is I have just a stone. I have a stone that I've used, and I just tied a bit of cord on it. And this is just going to be a weight which you just hold underneath the jig. Let's move that back a bit. Yeah. So this just goes up through the middle and the bottom stone. And then we're just going to grab these 4 coils, and I'm just going to tie them to the stone weight. Hang the stone weight through the middle, through the center. I'm going to put 1 cord over there. That one looks tangled. That one, they all look tangled. Hang on, I'll just sort them out. That one can go over there, that one can go there. So I'll just show you. This here is the 4 cords are all tied together in the middle, and they're held on to the stone. The stone is the weight pulling the cord down the middle, and then you've got your 4 coils hanging on each side. Right, tied in the middle with the stone weight pulling the cord through the center. Now I'm going to start the 4 plait process. So I'll grab 2 cords that are opposite, and I'm going to swap them over. And then I'm going to grab the other 2 cords and I'm going to swap them over. And then I'll grab the other 2 cords and I'll swap them over. grab the other two cords and I'll swap them over. Then I'll grab the other two cords and I'll swap them over. I'll swap those other two cords over. Alright, this is getting a bit tangled up, so I'm just going to sort this out. Let's get on here with this one. Just sort this out. This is not going right. To make sure when the cord is on there, it's on there correctly. Right. Should be enough. I'll just wind this one up a little bit more. So they're all roughly hanging about the same distance. So grab the two outside ones, swap them over. Grab these two, swap them over. I'll grab these two, swap them over. I'll grab these two opposites, swap them over. And I'll grab the two opposites, swap them over. And I'll grab these two and I'll swap them over. Two opposites, swap them over. And I'll grab these two opposites and I'll swap them over. And slowly as I'm doing this, the 4-plait cord is slowly binding itself in the center. Grab the two outside ones, I'll swap them over. Right, these two, swap them over, swap these two over, swap these two over, and I'll just let's carry on. You just swap the two over. It's always the opposite, so it's always the one directly opposite that you just swap them over. And then the two other ones, the opposites, you swap them over. And you just complete that process until you've completed the cord. Swap these two over. And swap these two over. Swap these two over. And swap these two over. Swap these two. And then swap those two. Swap these two. Swap the other two. Swap these two. And you swap these two over. Swap these two. And then swap these two over. Swap the other two. And just keep going. And then eventually you get a short cord and you just unravel it and unwind a little bit more. Unwind a little bit more of it, and then I'll put some slots in the side there and I'll just pull the cord through there a couple of times So stop it from unraveling. Just let it hang down. I'll grab the next one, free up a little bit more cord. I'll do the same with that. And this one here, I'll do the same with this. This one hasn't been tied up properly and it's coming undone, but it's alright. This one here, a bit more cord. Last one. Right. Swap these two over. I'll swap the other two. Swap these two. Sometimes I get tangled up. It's alright. Swap these two. Swap these two. So all you're doing is you just one from this side and one from the other opposite side. They're just swapping places, and then the one on the left and the right, they're just swapping places as well. And this is how you do the full plait on the jig. There's no secret to it. And then just under here, we've got the stone. The stone, the weight is pulling underneath and it's creating the full plait cord, and it's getting longer. And this is all it takes. That's all it takes to do the full plait cord. It's just to have your jig, your 4 wooden toggles to wrap your cord around, have a weight in the middle, tie your 4 cords in the middle, pulling in the weight pulls it down, and you just swap the outside ones. They just swap over, and then the 2 in front and the one facing away, swap them over. And then 2 outside ones, they swap over, and the 2 inside ones swap over, and the 2 outside ones swap over, and then the 2 inside ones swap over, and the 2 outside ones swap over, and the 2 inside ones swap over. And this is the same as doing the full plait by hand, and I find it a lot easier once you get to know how to do this cord. That I find it easier to just cut 4 meters of cord, wax cord, tie them together, and then just put it on a hook, and then just plait the full plait by hand by just swapping the 2 outside ones and crisscrossing them over until you've got the length of cord that you want. And because we've got one that we prepared earlier, now I'm gonna leave this jig, take it off here, so I don't need it anymore. It's just for a demonstration. And I'll show you how I bind the carvings. So I've just got like a example. It's just a wooden example of a pendant. You would either make that out of wood, bone, stone, and it doesn't matter what shape, style, whatever you want to carve. If you're going to turn it into a pendant, it's still the same process. So I'm just going to grab, hang on, let's move this over here. Right. Let's change this around a little bit. seat. Right, now the easy part begins. So now that I've plaited the full plait cord is all plaited. I'm going to get one end and I'm going to thread it through. Thread it through the pendant where I want to put the cord. And I'll hold both the ends together. Until I've got the cord through the pendant. It's about the centre of the cord. So I'm just going to put this there for a minute. Then I'm going to grab roughly about, I like to use roughly about 1 metre, 1 metre of wax cord to do the binding of the cord to the pendant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have one end, I'm going to hold the pendant upside down, put the cord there, I'm going to hold the cord alongside the cord, the single cord along the full plait, and then I'm going to double it over so it just makes a loop. As you can see, it's just going to make a loop, and I'm going to hold that on to the carving, and then I'll just grab the full plait and the single cord, and I'll grab the end of the long piece and I'll just wind it around, and I'll double it back on itself, and I'll just start winding it around the full plait cord towards the carving. It might be easier to hold that in there. So I've got the loop, I've got the end, the short end along parallel with the full plait, and the loop's just going to sit there on the carving, and I'm just going to grab the long end and I'm going to carry on winding it around a cord so it gets closer to the carving. Bit of a rough demonstration. There's nothing fancy to it. There's no hidden tricks. And I'll just keep winding the long part of the cord around the full plait and the loop with the single. And I'll just keep winding it so it gets right down to the pendant. I'll do a couple of rounds, but so it's really tight on there. Alright, I'll just take this off the vise. So we've got the loop, we've got the cord which has been bound around the full plait. We have the short end of the single cord next to the two full plaits, and I've wound the cord up towards the pendant. And now I'll get the end of the long cord and I'll thread it through the loop. And I'll hold it there, and then I'll grab the short cord, which is in the inside of the binding, and I'll pull it, and the loop pulls the end of the long piece in, and then I'll grab the short cord and I'll just pull it, and as I'm pulling it, the loop that was coming down and back around along the inside of the binding is now tucked inside the binding, and then I pull the short piece, excuse me, and then I pull the short piece until I can feel the knot where the loop was of the excuse me, where the loop and the long end has gone through, and I'm pulling it and I can feel the knot going up into about the middle of the binding, which is about where I want it. So then I'll just grab the scissors and I'll just trim off that short end, and I'll just grab a lighter and I'll just melt that short end. And I'll grab this other end, grab the scissors, and I'll just trim that. So we've got the little bit of the tag of the short end, and I'll just melt that with the lighter. That's better. And that is your 4-plait cord bound onto your carving. And the reason why I use wax cord and not normal cord is because when I get to this part, I can just gently grab the lighter and I can just gently melt the wax on the wax cord. It's a little bit shiny, but it locks and binds the cord, and the knot on the inside of the binding is all bound together with the wax. Alright, and then I'll grab another, roughly another 1 meter and another meter. Right, now I've got to bind the two ends together. Bind the two ends to make a slip cord so that it will stay together. I'll just grab this, cut this in half. Right, I'll put one meter cord to the side. I'll grab the example carving, I'll just put it back in the vise just to hold it for me. Here's your pair of hands, it's always handy. And I'll roughly pretty much just put my head around there, and I'll just loosely put the two ends together, and I'll see if I can put my head through. And then I know that I've got that much cord to play with, so I'll grab one end. Right, I'll grab one end and I'll just make a loop, double it over like that. I'll grab the other cord, I'll put it through the middle of that and just let that hang there. So it's like crossed over like that. Then I'll quickly just grab the short end and I'll hold that onto the bit I want to bind. And I'll make another loop. And I always make the loop at the end I'm going to wind the cord towards. So I want to wind the cord and pinch these two together and bind it around here so that this goes real tight around this other cord. So I'll quickly just do that. I'll wrap it around on itself a couple of times, get it started. Right, I've got the loop, I've got the cord that I want to, I've got this wrapped around. I'll grab the long end and I'll just keep winding it around. Keep winding it around. I make it reasonably tight, but not too tight that I can't slide the other cord back and forth through the loop. And I'll just put the end through that double bit loop. And then I'll grab the short end and I'll pull it. And pull that loop through. Oh, that's the bit I was winding around. Pull the loop through. So I've bound the cord onto one of the sides and I can move that up and down, adjust it so it slides up and down. So now I'm going to grab I've still got this long end that I wound around and also got that long bit hanging off, and I got the short bit, and what I want to do is I want to pull the knot so I can feel it in the middle of the binding. So I'm just going to do that now. It's about in the middle. Now those bits are ready to cut off. I'll just melt that. Melt that. Right. Cut the other end. The binding cord. I'll just melt that there. Right. And then I'll just gently melt all the wax around the cord. So I've just bound one side of the cord for a slip knot. So I've got the carving in the vise. I've got one, and I've just grabbed this and I've wrapped it around, and then I've bound it. So now you can just slide this one up and down on the other side of the cord. And now that we've done this one, now we've only got one more to do on the other side. So I'll take it up to the end of the cord, and then I'll just double that over. So I've just put the slip cord up to the end, and I'll double it over, and I'll just hold that Right, now grab the other 1 meter cord, binding, get up, make the loop. I'll just grab the short end. I'm holding the cord, the last bit of cord to bind, in my hand, and then I'll put the short end alongside it in my hand, and then I'm going to make like a little loop, and I'm going to roughly want the same binding width on this side, so I'm going to grab it like that, and I'm going to grab this long cord, and I'm just going to wind it around the 4-plait cord, bind this last piece. Careful to keep the loop down the side there, and I'll just keep binding the long end around all of that. Keep binding that around. Right, I'm just binding the last bit. Not quite tight, but not too tight so it can't move and slide up and down the other side of the cord. I'll grab that long piece again and I'll put it through the loop. Pull that. Grab the short end. Tie that, pull that loop. Pull the knot into the center of the binding. Feel it with my fingers. Yep, there we go. Grab the short ends, trim them off. Grab the lighter, out the ends. That's done. And the long end of the cord, I'll just trim that. Let's mount that with the lighter. And now I'll just mount the wax together. Right. Now I'll just mount the wax and tie a cord. Binds it all together. You don't want to burn the cord, but you just want to heat the wax up. Gets it all nice. Right. Now as you can see, this cord is bound around this one. This cord here is bound around the other one. So now you can adjust your cord to whatever size you want your pendant. Now I'll just try it on. Pull those together. Try the pendant on. And just pull the cord
and adjust the size on how far up I want the pendant to hang. And that's it. That's your 4-plat. Right, I'll just move this up. Yeah, right. So I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, click the like and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next video. And if you want to learn more or want to learn how to carve, check out the link in the description to my Learn to Carve Academy on Skool. Goodbye. Have a good time carving.